Afternoon fellas, thanks for stopping by. Look, what we're doing today is just a little bit of a project, something for the hell of it. No real need to do this, but just because I want to give it a crack. To preface, I guess, this video, I do a little bit of kayaking. I've got a few kayaks there, and I've also got this old canoe here, just an old poly plastic canoe that I picked up cheaply for around about $100. Well, it's been about that, maybe a little bit less, something like that. Now, it did need a repair job. It did have a bit of a hole in it when I got it, and so I've given that a bit of a touch up and a bit of a repair with a fair hole. So that's obviously why it was so cheap. Didn't come with any seats, so when you sit in this, you just sit on the bottom. Project later on will be to affix some seats, etc. But we'll just roll her over, but she holds water, and it's all good. Now, the reason I haven't really messed around with this at this point is obviously because I've got the kayaks over there, you can see. But just recently I went out again with a friend from work who has a big fiberglass canoe. Now, his canoe was actually called a Beeline. We think it's a Wallaby or something along those lines, but Australian made canoe. Just rolling that one back over, and it's fiberglass, and it's a heavy bastard, and it's horrible to paddle in the water and maneuver, and every time we go out in it, we have to get the trolling motor. Now, the trolling motor that he has is electric, and obviously taking electric motor, we tend to go out for a whole day, and by a whole day I mean, it can be anything up for about 8 hours, and paddling that thing is horrible. So with the trolling motor, because it is so heavy in the water, we've guesstimated it's probably something around the 50 kilo mark, unladen. Just the canoe itself requires a bit of handling, even just to get it up on the roof of the truck that he's got. So once we put we throw ourselves in it, I'm about 70 odd kilo. I think he's pushing something around 90, so there's another 160, plus a couple of batteries, which we've guesstimated to sort of around about 40, 50. We're well up over the 300 mark once we've chucked everything in. So we might even, we've got tubs and drums and fishing gear and whatever. We're probably pushing somewhere around 400 kilo. So this I've had this for several years. I bought it and I've hardly ever used it. I have taken it out a few times and just paddled it around in the local area, and had a little bit of a fish out of it, but it's not really made for covering a lot of distance. What I do like about it is that obviously it's lightweight. I can just pick this up, chuck it on my shoulders and carry it small distances. I wouldn't want to carry it for a big distance. Sits fairly reasonably out of the water, and with nothing in it, it's great. I can just chuck this on the water, paddle it out, and lay down and have a sleep. Alternatively, I can sit up the back here and paddle, or I can sit on this cross piece. This does tend to bend a little bit. You can see there's a bit of flex there. So what I'm going to do is probably brace that with a piece of timber or something, and we'll be good to go. Normally these have some moulded seats that drop in, fit around the back here and drop in here. So it's actually a two-person canoe, plenty of room. But at this point, like I said, it's just come like that with no additions. Okay, so basically the plan is going to be to get this Mercury 2.2, which I just picked up recently, a couple of days ago, second hand. You can see it's in pretty good condition. It runs pretty well. One issue that I did have originally with it was when I went and tested it, in retrospect I should have pushed the guy a little bit further, but it turned out all good. I told him that I wanted to see it start, and I expect him to have it set up something like this in a garbage bin, give it a bit of a turnover, watch it run a little bit, etc. What actually happened was, had it up on the boat, sitting up reasonably high. He knew that I wanted to see it started, but he said, look, I've only got a bucket of water. I've broken my other tub, so I can't actually let it run for too long. How about I just kick it over, whatever, we'll see how we go. Anyway, price was right. Figured it was worth a bit of a gamble. What actually happened was, once I got it home and chucked it in the water here and started it up, everything well, started up, no problems, but I noticed that there was no water coming out of the telltale down the bottom here, and no water coming out of the exhaust down here either. So what I did once I got home, once I started running and I noticed there was nothing coming out of the telltale, and there was nothing coming out of the exhaust as well, what I did was just push the air hose up against there like that, and we'll see if we can do it one-handed and give it a bit of a squirt. not too much pressure. And what you'll notice is we've now got air obviously going through the circuit. Coming out of the bottom there. So I had to do that a few times. After I did it the first time, it ran fine for a little while, and then the tail cut off again. So it's obviously a small little blockage or something like that in, maybe some salt or something like that. I gave it a couple of blowouts. Every time I started it, would let it rest for a little while, start it, and now she's running all good. Now I think these are around about 12 kilo, give or take. So we're gonna, I'm curious how that's going to balance out on the canoe, how heavy it's going to be. See, the canoe is fairly wide, so I'm hoping that that's going to balance it out okay. If not, you know, I'll have to sit over on the we're talking left hand side a little bit further to balance out the weight of the motor. But we're not going to know till we get it on there. As far as the project itself goes, we're going to keep it really, really simple. I was going with all these different complex options as far as trying to get the, you know, make a motor mount and all that sort of stuff. It did have just a shitty old thing with some L brackets on the back, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go with that. This is just going to be effectively some pine, which I've got off some pallets you can see over the back there, and just a pile of pallets that I use for some firewood. So we're just going to mount that up. I want to put it hard against the back of the canoe here, basically because I'm going to be sitting up there and I want it, you know, reasonably close to me. I had thought about maybe moving it back a little bit further to get it as close to the centre of the canoe as far as balancing goes, so I'm going to have a look at that once I get it started. I was hoping to use the same holes here that they drilled, but look, you know, it's not a flash canoe, so I'm not really worried about popping a couple of extra holes in it. Later on I can fix those up if I want to mess about with it. But anyway, just going to chuck a couple of L brackets on, hold on the timber, and obviously that's just going to hang off the side there like that, and the motor's just going to attach to the sign. So it's going to be really, really simple. The only, I guess, thinking that I did in this sense is this is going to be roof-topped as far as going on the van, which is the Deleca. Now the Deleca is about 2.5 meters high. I'm about 5'4", 165. So getting this, or getting these canoes, those yellow ones you see, they're about 5.2 meters long. So they're a little bit of a challenge to get on, as is the other one, which is I think that's around about 4.8 or something like that. But look, I don't have any difficulties with it. I've got a roof basket, chuck it up there, and it goes up there pretty easy. So that's going to be it. Like I said, the only thing that I did think of as far as simplifying it, because it's going on the roof, is we've got some 6mm, they call them cap screw or socket heads. Look, I just call them hex bolts. So you can see that's got the hex. Thought that just so I can actually, they're a bit knurled on the outside, on the top. So they'll obviously go through from the top. And we've got the appropriately sized wing nuts that will go underneath. So, you know, in case of 4 bolts, I'll be able to just grab those wing nuts, give them a twist, pull the whole thing off, you know, store it in the car or whatever need be. I did consider using some aluminium plate that I've got here, obviously for lightweight, but this pine stuff is fairly lightweight anyway. There's no real concerns there. So we might look at doing something later on, like just going a cross piece like that, and then putting a fair sized block on top of that. But as far as this goes, I think the simplest options first. We'll get it out, we'll test run, we'll see how it goes, and see if she works, and check out the speed. I think the only thing I'm a little bit concerned is the examples that I've seen on YouTube. It's a 2.2. I'm expecting that to lift that front up a little bit when we're going in the water, so I might need to organise some ballast. Once I get the hang of it and I'm happy with it, the mutt will come in the canoe with me, and maybe we can con him to sit up the front, and won't have to worry about putting anything else in the canoe. Anyway, there we go. Let's go and give this Mercury a kick in the guts, and we'll show you how she runs.